it just me, or are Bond films not fun anymore? The last few times I went to the cinema to see one, I came out feeling thoroughly underwhelmed. The Craig era started off okay with Casino Royale, and that's largely due to the direction of Martin Campbell, the director of the beloved GoldenEye, and the fact that it generally kept to the template of Ian Fleming's original novel. Quantum of Solace was a fucking shit show, boring as hell, resembling a mediocre Bourne film more than anything remotely Bond, and frankly that would serve as foreshadowing. Skyfall was an improvement, albeit a marginal one, whose quality is probably overestimated due to the unique climax sequence at Bond's childhood home. Not only that, it highlighted the true face of Scotland through the excellent Albert Finney that our dear leaders would rather let you think doesn't exist.
Welcome to Scotland.
Then we fall in quality once again with Spectre, boring, overlong, and a pale imitation of prior triumphs. They even managed to fuck up Blofeld by turning him into the Joker towards the end and then having Bond stay his hand and killing him because the Whammon is watching. And now we get No Time to Die. Highly anticipated due to the Chinese coof pandemic delaying its release, this film took its time in its journey to assault our eyes, and in the meantime the info we were getting did not bode well. A Bond for the #MeToo era? Phoebe Waller-Bridges hired to feminist up the script? 007, now a strong black woman who wanted a scene where she whips a tampon out of her vag and tosses it into a bin for some reason? Gee, sign me up, guys. Sounds like an experience to rival watching footage of 3-year-olds jumping into spinning helicopter blades. In all fairness, we had plenty of warning. Not just from the news and promotional material from this film that seemed to big up the female characters at every opportunity, but simply from watching previous efforts. Bond and his adventures are no longer the central concern of these movies. The central concern is now how we can belittle this character and run this franchise into the ground because we're a bunch of subversive progressive goons who hate themselves and life. The upshot of it all is that Bond movies are movies for men. Not saying women cannot enjoy Bond films, but they are for men. Men like Bond, therefore Bond must be destroyed. He's a bad influence, you see, what with his drinking and gambling and womanizing. Jesus Christ, especially the womanizing. Straight man likes women, has sex with many of them while saving the world. We can't have this in the era of Twitter witch hunts, I mean #MeToo. It's current year, damn it! Let this be an example, as if there weren't enough already, that these people will take everything you love, distort it into a shadow of its former self and wear it like a skin suit. And No Time to Die is just the latest in a bout of shambling cultural skinwalkers. We start off in foreign land, where they all speak foreign and so everyone has to read the subtitles to understand each other. A man wearing a kabuki mask shows up and kills a small girl's mother. The small girl proceeds to shoot the masked man dead and then starts dragging him outside. The man suddenly wakes up and we're left wondering precisely what this child was going to do with the man's body when she believed him dead. In the process of running away, the girl ends up trapped under the ice of a frozen lake and the masked man decides to save her. Cut to modern day, Bond is now retired and travelling around Europe with Madeline from the last movie, scored with musical refrains from On Her Majesty's Secret Service, almost as if the movie is trying to say, hey, remember when Bond movies didn't blow balls? They just so happen to be in the town where Vesper Lynd, Bond's paramour from Casino Royale, is buried. Madeline insists that Bond go to her grave and forgive her for betraying him and then leaving him behind by basically committing suicide, and I have to ask why. What does Madeline have to gain by drumming up memories of his old girlfriend? Things seem to be fine as they are. She didn't even know Vesper. Hell, she was probably in secondary school when Bond was bonking her around the globe. Although, to be fair, we all know how much women do love to bring up old girlfriends like they're still in competition with them. Do you still love her? Is she prettier than me? Bitch, she's dead! If I wanted to call her, I'd have to use a fucking Ouija board! Give it and her a rest already! So Bond goes to the gravesite and mumbles some things, and then the grave explodes. No, it isn't Q's latest invention to liven up funerals, it's Bond's oldest nemesis, nondescript assassins. He dispatches them and heads back to the hotel room where he just about goes full Connery on Madeline and accuses her of betraying him. He then shoves her on a train and says she'll never see him again. Oh, thank God, maybe finally the series will get back on track. No such luck as 5 years later, Bond is in Jamaica, being belittled by Nomi, a strong, independent black woman played by Lashana Lynch, who just happens to be the new 007. Because Barbara Broccoli may have said that Bond would never be a woman, but she didn't say fuck all about 007. Both she and Felix Leiter give Bond the skinny on a recently stolen bioweapon called Project Heracles. Nanobots that infect people like a virus but can be coded to a person's DNA, rendering them harmless to anyone but the target. Nobody tells Bond to stay out of it, but luckily Bond still has half a nut left and so teams up with Leiter and his colleague Logan Ash to track down the missing scientist who developed Heracles. This leads us to the part of the movie that most resembles a Bond film, as Bond shows up in Cuba and meets with CIA agent Paloma in her dress with a neckline so plunging Karl Marx can just about see it from hell. They stumble upon a meeting of apparently every single member of Spectre being presided over by Blofeld via a bionic eye through which he broadcasts himself from Belmarsh prison. He singles out Bond and unleashes Heracles to kill him. However, the scientist, Oberchev, has reprogrammed the virus to kill every single member of Spectre, leading the audience to imagine Blofeld sitting in his prison cell thinking, maybe I shouldn't have had every single member of my criminal organisation gather under one roof. Whoopsie doodle, I'm such a silly criminal mastermind. So Bond takes Oberchev back to Leiter and Ash is revealed, to nobody's surprise, to be a double agent. In the ensuing struggle, Leiter is killed and Ash escapes. Now, when you consider the fact that Leiter has survived being mauled by sharks not once, but fucking twice in both the Fleming and continuation novels, this is a pretty big deal and serves as an extra bit of foreshadowing of what's to come. Bond meets up with M back in London and he talks about his involvement in okaying Project Heracles, thereby outing M as a massive fucking retard and insulting every single Bond fan in the audience. After having the request to see Blofeld denied, Bond and Moneypenny head off to see Q and... fucking Q. Jesus Christ, fucking Q. Let me tell you about Q, and I don't mean this weedy little beta they're calling Q. I mean real Q, Desmond Llewellyn Q. Q is the deadliest man at MI6 bar none. Sure, he may seem like a doddering Biden-esque old fool, but you would be wrong. This man can kill you with anything. Anything. Even this sandwich.
Don't touch that. It's my lunch.
Oh, you think that's a normal phone booth? Gonna wish your mum a happy Christmas, are you? Well, boom! You've just been suffocated, genius! Just a normal everyday camera, is it? How do you like your face with a side of laser, you cunt? That's Q, not this mincing socially awkward sperg. The first time I ever saw him in Skyfall, he rubbed me the wrong way.
Were you expecting an exploding pen?
Fuck you, not Q. Like I said, original Q was a dangerous man. He made the most ridiculous devices known to man, fully funded by the British taxpayer, and he did it all while taking himself and his work 100% seriously. This guy couldn't kill a houseplant if he jammed it in a fucking garbage disposal. Oh, also he's gay. Big fucking shocker. Of course the issue isn't that he's gay, but it's even relevant to the filmmakers in the first place. Because as we all know, the interesting thing about Q wasn't the all manner of wacky inventions he came up with. No, it's what he was doing with his penis on a regular basis. Fuck off, woke Hollywood. So Q figures out that the stuff on a data stick Bond got from Overchev is filled with DNA info on thousands and thousands of people. This, of course, is bad because if you have a weapon that can kill people just by being coded to their DNA, then having a database filled with people's DNA is kind of a must. Also, Agent Cody Banks called. It wants its villain plot back. Eventually they're granted their audience with Blofeld, but apparently he won't talk to anyone but Madeline. So they wheel Blofeld out like he's Hannibal fucking Lecter, and for Christ's sakes it's like they can write Blofeld as just about any character other than fucking Blofeld. Madeline acts as if she's just seen an Elder God and leaves Bond to have a long and astoundingly dull chat with Blofeld in which the villain admits to planning the hit on Bond back in Italy in order to make it appear as if Madeline had betrayed him. Not that you'd realise that because the scene is so poorly written. Blofeld then dies of the nanovirus because Madeline was coerced by Safin, the man who killed her mother and then saved her life at the start of the film, to walk in there infected with it in order to kill Blofeld. So Felix Leiter is dead, Blofeld is dead. Gee, I wonder who's going to die next. I'll bet it's someone important. Bond tracks Madeline to her childhood home in Norway where he delivers a romantic Shakespearean sonnet because that is what Bond is now. Not a man of action, not a blunt instrument of the state to be wielded in a time of crisis. No, he's in touch with his feminine side now, so most of his movies have to be taken up with him getting teary-eyed over a whammon. He also meets Madeline's daughter, Mathilde, who she claims is not Bond's daughter. Spoiler alert, it's his fucking daughter, and no one ever explains why Madeline tries to act like she isn't. She just does, and we're supposed to act like there's some deeper meaning to it all because woman. After dispatching with Safin's henchmen, including Ash, Bond finds that Madeline and Mathilde have been captured. They manage to track Safin to some island in disputed territory between Russia and Japan where he's manufacturing the technology. It's at this point that I realise we still have no real idea who Safin is and what his motivation for wanting to kill millions of people with tiny robots even is. Even when Bond confronts him, all we really get is a mumbly conversation, the upshot of which is men bad. Oh hi there, Phoebe Waller-Bridges. I wonder how much you were paid to completely ram this franchise in the cornhole. Meanwhile, Nomi is taking Obrejev hostage, and the scientist makes a passing remark that he could, if he wanted to, wipe her entire race off the map using the tech he's developed. For this, Nomi pushes the man into searing hot water and boils him alive horribly. Just for that. He doesn't try to grab her gun or present any other kind of direct threat to her. He says something racist and the penalty is death. It's ridiculous and out of place and totally unbecoming of someone sporting the 007 moniker. And before some moron points out that Bond is killed in cold blood before, allow me to offer this rebuttal. Bond opens the silo doors on the island to allow a missile strike to take out the factory. When confronting Safin, the villain infects him with nanobots that are coded to Madeline and Mathilde's DNA, meaning that if he goes near him, he'll kill them. Once again, it's difficult to ascertain this since Rami Malek slurs his lines like a stroke patient. Bond elects to stay on the island, and in a tearful goodbye, Madeline admits to him that Mathilde is his daughter, as if that were even in question at this point. Then Bond dies. God, this film sucked. From the moment the traditional Bond intro begins, it is another slow, CGI-laden affair scored with yet another morose fucking theme song, this time provided by Billie Eilish of all people. You know it's going to be a long 3 hours. The last 3 movies have thought it appropriate to fill our ears with musical volume, and surprise, surprise, it doesn't exactly get you pumped up for an exciting spy adventure. I don't know why they bother when shooting the audience members with tranquilizer darts during the showings creates the same effect, but with the added bonus that I don't have to listen to Billie Eilish or Sam Smith or fucking Adele. The Craig movies have made a habit of being overlong from the very beginning, but this one pushes the 3-hour mark, something no Bond film worth its salt should ever do. This isn't a fucking Marvel movie. Bond films are not designed for fat nerds who are used to sitting on their arses for extended periods of time. Bond is for men who have shit to do, and 3 hours is too damn long. I wouldn't even mind, but a good portion of the film isn't even taken up with exciting spy action. It's taken up with Bond being a has-been, pining over a woman half his fucking age. In the past, Bond has shagged women half his age. Now he's hardcore simping for them. We barely get any idea as to who the villain actually is. All we get is that his family were killed by Spectre, and that's pretty much it. We have no idea why he actually wants to kill millions of people with nanobots, other than some vague bullshit about the world being bad and life being painful or some such emo JRPG shit. We don't even know why he was wearing that kabuki mask at the start. Seriously, who the fuck was he? And before people come out with, well, we don't know who Blofeld was in the old movies. Yes, we do. Blofeld is the leader of Spectre. And what does Spectre stand for? Special Executive for Counterintelligence, Revenge and Extortion. There! We know who Blofeld is. He is a man willing to commit vast criminal actions for personal gain. That is his motivation. It is what he does, and it is who he is. Dr. Evil had more character motivation and backstory than this guy. Safin? I have no idea who the fuck he is. I know he wants to kill Spectre. I don't know why he wants to commit genocide. At the point where we might actually get an explanation, Rami Malek just whispers his way through a scene where the gist seems to be that all the problems are caused by evil men and that men have to hold other men accountable. The fuck, was this film made by Gillette? Turning M into a total moron who gives the go-ahead on the development of a weapon that could quite obviously and easily get into the hands of villains is another giant slap to the face, reinforcing the film's bullshit message. Q is a mincing gay hipster devoid of humour or charm, and Nomi is simply a token black woman inserted to provide some contrast to Bond's white maleness. The moment where she pushes an unarmed man into a pool of boiling water simply for saying something that hurt her feelings is peak SJW. They treat Blofeld like he's Hannibal Lecter as opposed to the Joker this time, and I just about laughed my arse off in the cinema when they had him rolling slowly down a narrow hallway in a little caged wheelchair and tried to act like it was intimidating. Unless I forget the fact that they established Spectre as an organisation in the previous film, only to then entirely kill them off in the next. If you're going to connect Bond films together as one overarching story, then at least don't take lessons from the Star Wars sequel trilogy, will you? And then to top it all off, they kill Bond. I don't know why they bothered. I'd say Spectre had already done a pretty good job of killing this character, but no, they just had to dig up the corpse and piss into its mouth with this overlong, pretentious, generic, and frankly insulting movie. If it sounds like I'm annoyed, that's probably because I am. I grew up with the Bond films. My father is a huge Bond fan, and he went to see the films with his father. I'm a fan of pretty much every Bond iteration, and yes, that includes the Moore era, Moonraker and all. I'd sooner watch Moonraker 100 times before watching this mess again. The Bond character is a pure invention of the British Empire. He's been played by English, Scottish, Welsh, Australian, hell, he was very nearly played by a Kiwi if you want to check out Sam Neill's audition footage, and then there's the James Brolin footage that we won't talk about. In fact, Ian Fleming, whilst originally sceptical of Sean Connery's casting, loved his portrayal so much that he actually wrote Scottish parentage into Bond's character. He's a character that pulls everyone in the Union together, and to see him being used for divisive victim identity politics is nothing more than infuriating. The result is an entirely neutered Bond. Yeah, he still kills people, but he rarely quips. His and Q's relationship is antagonistic rather than that of a fatherly figure scolding his overly reckless son, and he doesn't even smoke or mac on ladies anymore because even he's scared of the Twitter mob. But ultimately, it's no surprise. That's what these people do. Instead of creating their own characters to push their idiotic agenda, they latch onto more successful and beloved ones like a blood-sucking lamprey, deconstruct them until they're a shadow of what they were, and then act like this is some kind of important progressive change that the character needed to go through. These people are like Francis Dollarhide from Red Dragon. This is James Bond. Do you see? This is James Bond changing. Do you see? Do you see? And then when you complain, they say, "Jeez, it's just a movie. Calm down, man, babies." This is because these people don't know what it's actually like to care about something. Oh, they pretend to care about things. They'll hashtag and change their profile pics all day long to show you how much they care, but really, there's no soul behind it. They're like the aforementioned skinwalkers. They mimic compassion to signal that they're good people and then act like scumbags in real life. In this case, they take on the voice and image of Bond to pull you in and then laugh at you when the skin suit gets ripped off and you're left staring at a soulless monster. The Craig era had its moments, some even great. Hell, this movie even has its moments. I actually rather like Paloma, the Cuban CIA agent and second action woman of the film. She came off likeable and not too overpowered, unlike a certain other female character. And that dress! Ugh! Too bad she's only in about 15 minutes of the movie, and it happens to be the part that resembles a Bond flick. But if this is the standard we're ending the life of a classic character with, then I dread to think of what's coming. I don't think they'll be dumb enough to actually replace Bond with Lashana Lynch's character. I have a feeling they'll just reboot the movies and possibly do some kind of spin-off Amazon series that'll fail because nobody fucking cares other than people who don't watch these things. Ultimately, they're pandering to a crowd who don't watch their movies. Comics are going through a similar problem. They replace stories with woke political propaganda written by talentless women and minorities and enact shocked when the so-called misogynistic manga industry starts to annihilate them. Putting aside that kind of criticism, the movies are just boring. Pale imitations of past successes, dour and humourless. These movies aren't Bond, James Bond, they're bland fucking bland. With the worst example of blandness probably being Quantum of Solace. At least No Time to Die had one or two interesting aspects culled from the pages of the original You Only Live Twice novel, the very, very loose adaptation of which is my favourite Bond movie. It just goes to show that after all this time I can still sit and watch that film and be as excited to see it as I was when I was a kid. This film, on the other hand, will be forgotten. A movie that's an ice age long and ends with the seal clap of those who hate the very spirit of humanity itself. Fuck this movie and everyone who made it. I'm DeadEye.